perspectives.
Focus is on building a robust.
Hello, my name is Peter Pugh-Jones, and I'm honored to be your host for this session today. Joining me on the panel are three gentlemen, each from different companies, who each have unique perspectives to share on the transformation or transformative journey they have been on together. A little note on housekeeping before we start. Feel free to post any questions you have for the panel during the discussion on the right-hand side of the webcast window. We will bank them for the end, where we will open the floor up for general conversation. So let's move right on and introduce you to our panelists, starting with Frederick.
Hi, Pete. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Frederick Anton. My role is to develop and coordinate the aftermarket activities of SPG dry cooling. I'll come back later about SPG dry cooling. What is aftermarket activities of SPG dry cooling? It's not only service and supports, but it's also retrofits, performance improvements, and adding value to our customers with the use of advanced analytics.
Thank you. And Pascal.
Hi, Pete. Hi to everyone. I'm Pascal Bishop. I'm one of the founding partners of The Grain, and within The Grain, I'm responsible for the sales and finance. A short notice on The Grain is that we are a data science company building AI applications for the industry.
Thank you. And Bobby.
Hey, everybody. My name is Bobby Shkolnikov, and I'm joining you in my role as a principal business development executive in our global IoT organizations at SAS that I'm part of, along with our venerable host, Peter Pugh-Jones. And my focus is on building a robust ecosystem of partners with whom we can co-create those outcome-driven solutions, meaning we're not just looking to sell technology tools, but rather packaging them up, layering in the services, and delivering them in a manner that addresses the core business challenges that our clients face in the market. And I tell you what, I'm super excited to be joined here by a couple of visionaries and thought leaders and Frederick and Pascal that are not just talking about digital transformation, but are actually doing it and doing it in a successful manner. So super excited to have this, to kickstart this panel.
Thank you, Bobby. That's terrific. So Frederick, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and we'll go from there.
Sure, Peter, thank you. So SPG Dry Cooling is an OEM and designer of air-cooled condensers. So as you can see here on this pictogram on the left-hand side, an air-cooled condenser you will find it everywhere where you have a steam cycle and where you are doing dry cooling, as we call it. So either wet cooling or dry cooling when you have water scarcity or other economical reasons, dry cooling might be the proper alternative to do so. So the purpose of the air-cooled condenser is not merely cooling, but it is creating a vacuum at the outlet of the steam turbine. And so what is interesting about the air-cooled condenser is that it is the, as we can say, the thermometer and the barometer of the whole steam cycle of a power plant. Now, those air-cooled condensers, those are big babies, as you can see on the right-hand side. On the top, it's a concentrated solar power plant. So you see this in the middle, just under the tower, you have a large piece of equipment. Well, that's the air-cooled condenser. On the bottom, you see a combined cycle power plant. And so there you have the air-cooled condenser is this kind of large pitch at the back of the picture. So that's what SPG Dry Cooling is doing. We design, engineer, and build air-cooled condensers.
That's terrific. Thank you so much, Frederick, for that overview. Pascal, tell us a little bit about your company. I think you're on mute at the moment.
I need to unmute myself. We are a data science company. I will quickly show that slide. We focus on AI applications for the industry, and we are 4 pillars that we focus on. One is process optimization. That's looking at process control, improving the throughput, and also quality control using computer vision techniques. Second one is production planning and scheduling, where we optimize the scheduling, production scheduling, and it's also linked to demand forecasting and also equipment availability. Demand forecasting and inventory optimization, we have a tool where we have implemented successfully in press distribution. And the fourth pillar that we focus on is equipment availability. So looking at predictive maintenance or anomaly detection. Our goal is to commoditize AI within the industry and provide accessible and scalable AI solutions. Our unique selling, our USP is combining data science and our industrial expertise. That's where we focus on. And we strongly believe to have a human in the loop where AI is supported by human and the human supports the AI system. But I can tell you later on that more.
That's terrific. Thank you for that. Bobby, tell us a little bit about SAS.
Yeah, absolutely. So SAS is the largest privately owned software company in the world. We're about 14,000 people big. We've been around for 45 years. And our focus is predominantly on analytics, meaning the model creation, the model management, and the model deployment. You know, one of the ways that we play in this digital transformation space has a lot to do with the ability to operationalize those analytics, as in getting the insights into the hands of the right people and doing so at scale. So as a result, we at SAS have a very strong focus on the concept of openness and integration that we're pretty excited to talk to you today from the lens of the work that we've done with the grain and SPG.
SPG dry cooling, I think. Thanks, Bobby. That's terrific. So, gents, let's move right on to some questions we have. And I think the first one that's going to be really quite an interesting opener for us to discuss is around the term digital transformation, right? So, you know, you could ask hundreds of different people what the term means, and I'm certain that you'll probably just get as many answers from them to define exactly what it is to each of them. So why don't we start, first of all, with Frederick. Give us a definition of what you see to digital transformation meaning to you and to SPG dry cooling, and what it was that made you start this journey to look at the capabilities you could offer.
All right, thank you, Pete. Well, I would say, what is it about? What is digital transformation? Is it an objective on its own? No. The objective of the digital transformation is transforming the company. And why transforming the company? Well, is to retain our leadership position. That is what it is about. And before going to the specific projects for which we are partnering with SAS and the grain, I would like to emphasize that this project is only one of the initiatives within our company to transform our company. So we have other parallel projects ongoing, like, for example, generative design and engineering tools developments, new project management tools where all the different activities come together. So it's a complete internal transformation. Now, when we talk about ACC 360, that's the product that came out, or the solution, it's product/solution that we are offering to our customer, that we developed together with the grain and SAS, is why did we do this? I would start with the vision that's behind ACC 360, and the vision is very simple. It's enhance our customers' air-cooled condenser asset performance and reliability by embracing Industry 4.0 and asset management principles. So that is what is it about. Now, why do we believe this does make sense? Let me just pull up some slides here, because I think it's important that we talk about the changing energy markets, and the power utility market is undergoing major changes, and we call it the 3Ds: decarbonization, decentralization, and digitalization, which have a great impact on how power plants do operate. And when I'm talking about how do power plants do operate, I'm talking about ramp up time, maximum loads, number of start and stops. So when we talk about wind and solar power, so renewable energy, contributing more and more to the decarbonization of the power systems around the globe, it has a fundamental effect on the existing power generation assets. So it has also an impact on the decentralization, because more variable power production has as effect that it increases the flexibility requirements of the existing power plants. And that's where the use of advanced analytics is becoming extremely important, to have a better understanding of how these traditional power plants do operate in certain conditions, and have a better predictability on what is their electrical outputs and their availability.
Oh, I love it. And Pete, I was just going to jump in. It's always so enlightening to hear from the folks that are actually undergoing the digital transformation. So I love Friedrich's response, and I wanted to just add that I think that there's a point of scale that is crucial to address when we speak about any sort of digital transformation, because of how often organizations get stuck in this dreaded pilot purgatory, or doing random acts of digital where they're not able to achieve any sort of scale. And the way that I view scaling is a sort of a 2x2 matrix, both as a notion of scaling out, meaning transitioning from scale. And the way that I view scaling is a sort of a 2x2 matrix, both as a notion of scaling out, meaning transitioning from a proof of value to a pilot to a full-scale implementation, and then the notion of scaling up the maturity of the intelligence in a use case. If we're going to be talking about the predictive maintenance family of use cases, how initially the assets get created, we're starting to ingest data from the real world, we set thresholds, we get to more of a condition-based monitoring stage, and then over time we deliver, or we create some of these hypothesis-driven models that get to more of a predictive stage that ultimately get hardened over time, and then ultimately gets to that prescriptive stage, or autonomous-based maintenance. Well, the business value that comes out of the digital transformation occurs at the intersection of both scaling out and scaling up, and I think that's another core piece of the digital transformation definition, for me at least.
Thanks, Bobby. That's really, I love your random acts of digital. That's a new one for me. I like that. That's a good way to sum up a lot of stuff we see in the media to do with people transforming things in perhaps not a very thought out way in some cases, right? But no, that's brilliant. Thank you. So let's go now and have a look at our follow-up question, because actually some of the things you talked about there, Bobby, are sort of captured in the part of the question we have next, which is an article by McKinsey & Company, which was called "Welcome to the Digital Factory: How to Scale Your Digital Transformation," where in that article they talk about 16% of executives saying that their company's transformation efforts are succeeding. Only 16%. So in this particular scenario that we're talking about today, what's allowed everyone here to feel that their organizations are being successful in the effort we're talking about? Maybe Frederick, you could start us off on that.
Yeah, sure. Right. Well, I think there are a lot of factors, obviously, because if I see only 60, or here 16% only, it cannot be only one reason. There are definitely a lot of reasons that come to my mind. I would say, first of all, I think you need to have the right leadership and vision, and that comes from, in our case, the top management or CEO, the support of the shareholders. And it's a steep journey, let's be honest about it. It's not that it was a walk in the park for us, neither. We also had our challenges, and still do have our challenges. Now, what you always have to recall is that when you face those hurdles, is that you always have to ask yourself the same question again and again. Why are we doing this? Why do we believe this is the right path? And why are we working on this? And you have always to go back to those questions, because it's important also to continue motivating the people working on that. That's very important, because otherwise, well, you are on a discovery journey, right? And you will have failures, you have successes also, obviously. but you have failures, and so to keep the motivation, that's very important. The second thing is, and I mentioned it briefly at the beginning, we do have several projects ongoing. I think, well, start with small teams, individual teams. Don't try to find an all-fit solution for all the problems that you are facing. Advanced analytics is not going to solve with the magic wand all your solutions at once. Have small teams, have buy-in of those people, because some people will believe in certain solutions and others not. So that's also very important. Obviously, okay, the partners with whom you work are of the utmost importance. There is no doubt about that. And I would perhaps go back to a smaller or a more practical aspect of the project that we did, is that, as people call it, don't fall into the proof of concept trap. Well, the definition for me is a little bit more like, what we did is we decided to go for a proof of concept, but we are ourselves a medium-sized company. Well, we are the leaders in our industry, but we are in a niche market. So we decided that this proof of concept would immediately be the backbone of our minimum viable projects or products, sorry. And I think that's also very important, so that you can start gaining quick successes. And this is the famous, I don't like too much those buzzwords or catchy sentences, but that you should dare to fail. Yes, fail fast and quickly learning. Yes, there is definitely some truths in that.
Thank you, Frederick. And Pascal, what are your thoughts around those points that we made there?
Yeah, I think Frederick's point of view are also things that we see when we are implementing data science solutions. And we see some common challenges. So no corporate buy-in, also being stuck in a proof of concept, looking for improving your model for, let's say, an equipment that fails an exotic failure that you're still looking for. That's not working. So use common sense, common practice. Also not seeing the value. Also building trust and engagement with end users is quite important. A lot of people are hesitating against AI because they are threatened by AI, but there's no issue to be threatened because there will still be jobs. It will be another way of working. And it will be another colleague, the AI. So also one of the challenges that we see why a lot of AI projects fails is due to the fact that AI experts are going into the challenge from a deep technical point of view. And most AI experts are not talking enough with people on the work floor, engineers, so they are stuck to their modeling and not translating the business into the modeling. And so there's a gap, a language gap, and that's where we need to focus on. And if I look at SPG dry cooling, they had a clear mission, there was a clear leadership, and also if they had their mission, they also made it concrete initiatives. And so they defined several use cases, which were divided into bit-sized parts, so not huge projects, but real concrete use cases, which they have prioritized. Also made it valuable and measurable, quite important. Also, what I really found a strong point of working with SPG dry cooling was internally they had also a cross-functional team. So instead of having silos, they involved sales, they involved engineering department, which is quite crucial. And also they involved external expertise because it's a collaboration effort from different parties. And also the autonomy of the team. I think it was supported by the leadership guidance, and the team had an enormous autonomy, which is making it also successful.
Thank you, Pascal. In fact, you touched on some things there I'm going to come back to in a few minutes, so it's terrific that you mentioned them now. Before we move on to the next question, Bobby, I know you've got some thoughts. I mean, especially with SaaS involved in many different industries and in many different places around the world. I know you've got some thoughts around these questions.
Yeah, well, I love the responses from both Frederick and Pascal. One of, a pithy sentence to kind of sum it up is, think big, start small, scale fast. And I think that's exactly the moniker that has allowed SPG dry cooling to be successful in this digital transformation. For Frederick to be able to get the leadership alignment and be the the agent of change within his organization and create this think big version, think big vision that the organization can rally around. But then where organizations fail is, how do you start small? And I think this is where the partnership and the expertise that the grain brings to be able to go ahead and start capitalizing on a use case and start creating the self-funding mechanism, start building momentum, puts you in a position to begin to scale fast. And I think this is just was a beautiful description of how Friedrich and his leadership, with the help of the grain and SaaS, has been able to think big, start small, and scale fast.
So I just have a follow-up question for you all around something Pascal mentioned to do with AI and adoption of AI. Just a quick thought, Frederick, what's your experience been so far with people's understanding of embracing AI as something that maybe augments them rather than replaces them? I mean, how have you got a sense of that over the last few years of this effort? And also, Pascal and Bobby, your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think in our case, this is obviously never been really a topic. I mean, in the sense that what we are trying to do is deliver new KPIs, new insights, which were not yet available to our customers. So there's never been that feeling of being threatened. Also, we are obviously in the industry, and it's not that it is replacing, I would say, directly maintenance tasks or labor tasks or whatsoever. That's never been the case. So I must say that in that sense, there's been never any pushback. So people quickly saw what was the added value, and not being threatened by the use of new technologies.
I can fully agree on that, but when we look at other projects in the industry, and it's more related to operators and where operators are involved, or planners, schedulers, then we see that there's some fear of losing their job. But we still believe they are crucial, and the human will still be in central position. The AI is a supporting system. It helps to do our jobs better, faster, with more intelligence, and it's improving our way of working. So we need to adapt. It's not a threat to lose our job, but we need to adapt. And that's also something that we need to take care, that we involve those people rather from the start of the project than at the end, because then you are confronted with, oh, the solution is there, and we want to capture their knowledge as soon as possible to make the AI system better. And the AI system can only be improved by having the people feeding their feedback also to the system. And it seems that we just lost PPJ.
We may have lost our host. So while PPJ logs back in, I'll try to step into his shoes and kind of keep going with the hosting duties. I think this was a great discussion on a digital transformation journey in general, kind of how we started, where we're going. The one piece that I wanted to touch on next is around the notion of the transformation. And so, Friedrich, a question for you. When you were deciding on who were going to be your co-creation partners on this journey, why did you collaborate with Grain and SaaS?
Yeah, sure. That's a very good question. Well, we have been looking. I think there are a couple of steps here, of course. The first one is that we quickly realized, being an engineering company, and most of the skills of the people, we are either thermal engineers, structural engineers, electrical engineers. But we are not data engineers, we are not science engineers, data science engineers. So even though we have been looking at those solutions at the beginning, when we started nearly 4 years ago with the initial concepts of the project, we quickly decided that we were not going to start from scratch ourselves and reinvent the wheel. Why? Because we wanted to focus on what is important to us, but also to our customers. And that's very important. So we do have a certain skill set. We have our expertise. And we wanted to augment that and leveraging, again, the knowledge and expertise of the other partners in this fellowship, if I can call it like that. So we obviously, we approached the grain that has a lot of not only expertise in data engineering and data science, but also in the manufacturing industry. And Pascal touched upon briefly at the beginning, you need to be able to talk to each other. And that's extremely important. Otherwise, even, data scientists and data engineers, again, are very knowledgeable people, but they have no immediate feeling with what we are doing. And that advantage we had, of course, with the grain, having the people being active in that industry. And then secondly, well, of course, we had to talk about the platform, the environment in which we were going to work. And well, we quickly came to SAS for a couple of simple reasons. I think the most important one was that they could convince us about their capabilities and scalable capabilities in terms of ETL, which were extremely important for us. And also, well, of course, the advanced analytics themselves, because there are a lot of products out there on the market. But again, if we start talking about machine learning, artificial intelligence, which I don't like to use too much, but more the advanced analytical aspects of the things, well, you don't want to have a hollow box, right? You want to have content and you need to have those capabilities. So it's a combination of expertise within the industry, one. Secondly, scalability. And then we mainly talk about what is the ETL, extract, transfer, load, connectivity of data, being able to scale up and industrialize. And third, well, having really these core capabilities enabling you to do real advanced analytics.
And thank you, Bobby, for filling in for me there while we struggle the tribulations.
Feel free to take a seat, Pete. I can take over the hosting duty. I can jump in as a
You're
panelist.
so multi-talented.
They can go relax.
Thank you so much. Pascal, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think, Frederick mentioned all the important topics. I think, the only thing that we also with the grain is that as we already have a partnership with SAS for several years, where we have co-developed some tailor-made solutions, we also it allowed us to accelerate and industrialize the solutions rather fast for SPG dry cooling. And I also think we were able to make the solution generic enough because they want to have multiple customers accessing their platform. So we needed to build something generic.
Okay. No, that's fantastic, Pascal. Now, rather oddly self-serving in the words of Spock, I believe, Bobby, could you answer your own question too?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Our focus is on the ability, or SAS's focus is on the ability to put data and insights into the hands of the individuals that are best suited to manage it. And it's been our experience over the last few years of digital innovation that it's best to focus on our core competencies and partner with other organizations that create a better together story rather than trying to move forward on your own. So we actively look to partner with companies like The Grain that have a deep domain understanding of the physical world in which our clients' challenges live in, and also the capability to deliver those solutions. And as we look for clients, we're not simply looking to be a technology partner. Rather, we're looking to be a co-creation partner with our clients. We're looking to invest in the partnership and invest in the success of our clients.
That's an excellent lead into my next question, funnily enough, Bobby, because my next question is around, that ecosystem. How important is the ecosystem and the members of it in delivering on the ambition for SPG dry cooling, but also for all of us in what we're trying to create here?
Yeah, well, of
Frederick.
course, yeah, I think it's very important, and it's of course it's again what I said. It's about focusing on your own strengths, and for us it was focusing on our know-how, on our core strengths. Again, not going into too much technical details, but what we wanted to do is not only using advanced analytics, but we wanted to do, or we did hybrid modeling. So with the combination not only of advanced analytics, but also the thermophysical equations coming into the picture. That's one. And secondly, we wanted to focus on what are the customers' needs or customers. Let's not forget that it is what it is about, because, well, what we are providing, you can see it here just briefly on the slideshow. It's KPIs, and we transform the data with actionable insights to our customers. So that's what we were focusing on. And this ecosystem, especially at the very early stages, if you cannot focus on what matters to you and you have to focus on all what is not your expertise, then it becomes extremely complicated. Now, of course, it evolves throughout time. And the needs become different, and that's also where the ecosystem needs to adapt itself over time. At the beginning, it was well, assessing the use cases, doing the connection, industrialize. But today we are talking about optimizing. We are talking about further scaling, modifying certain things, and so the ecosystem needs also to be flexible enough to adapt itself. We also today. Well, in the meantime, we also have a data engineer and a data scientist working within our organization. So there is a transfer of know-how because, well, over time, you want to become more independent up to a certain extent. So I think that's also very important in that whole ecosystem, is that you ensure that there is a flexibility over time, that there is sufficient depth into the organizations you're collaborating with to make that ecosystem evolve throughout the time. Again, today, I mean, our needs might be different, are different of what we needed 3 years ago. And next year, within 2 years, our needs / our customer needs will also evolve. And then we need to find other answers because it's a fast moving world.
Pascal, have you got thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add on that one. I think it's indeed an evolving system, and that's also the reason why we supported SPG Dry Cooling by training their staff. They also hired a data engineer so that you are also more independent, and that in case that you really need an expert, yet you can still call us for the expertise, but you can also drive your own way. That you're not too dependent on the ecosystem. As Frederick mentioned, it will evolve as well. That's.
Thank you, Pascal. Bobby, do you have anything to add to that?
You know, I love having the ability to go last because I get a chance to kind of pick a kind of the amazing nuggets that both Frederick and Pascal shared. Now, one of the things that I wanted to touch on was just one of the challenges that we've seen with larger implementations of various use cases. It's not necessarily in the release of version 1 of the solution and scale of these challenges occur. So for example, as you deploy predictive maintenance solution across the entire manufacturing facility, release 1 is okay. Where I've seen organizations run into trouble is in release 4, 5, and 6. And that's because it becomes less about the core technology components and becomes more about the support, the documentation, the stability, the ongoing maintenance and durability of these solutions. And a lot of times the decisions that get made to make a pilot successful can create that technical debt when that solution achieves scale. So that's why, as we're looking to move along this maturity of the solution, along the maturity of the digital transformation, it's crucial that the ecosystem of partners becomes one that can adjust and flex with the evolving needs of the business.
Okay. No, thank you. That's terrific. And actually, Frederick, follow-up question for you. So obviously, we've talked about the fact that you wanted to utilize advanced analytics here. So given that you make that decision to use advanced analytics in a way perhaps that you hadn't considered before, in this software as a service architecture, how do you go about getting started on an endeavor like that? I mean, how do you work? I mean, how do you find out who to work with, how to work with? What's the process you went through to create this whole concept in the first place?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's like, you know, when we started this journey 4 years ago, well, you start with a vision, dreams, and then it's like being dropped into a jungle, right? I mean, it's a complicated world. Industry 4.0, SaaS, PaaS, advanced analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and I spare you all the other buzzwords that they sell you and throw at you. So it's a complicated path. I think we have been lucky. I would say to talk to a couple of right people right from the beginning, directing us on what was the essence of these kind of journeys. It's a matter of doing your homework. I mean, it's just like that. I mean, just spend time. It took us 1 year from the real idea to starting collaborating with partners, the Grain and SaaS. It took us full year, and we've talking to a lot of people. We went to meetings, conventions, seminars, and we were a team of 4 people. And every 2 weeks we came together and we put on the table all the things we encountered, all the stories, and we started putting all the bits and pieces together and making a decision. Okay, that's how we want to do it. What are the requirements? With whom are we going to do it? Again, knowing that we didn't want to do everything from scratch. I mean, that's also very important. And I do believe that obviously, depending on your background, depending on the size of your organization, if you dream big, also you need, up to a certain extent, put the means to your ambitions also. So I think it's a fine balance, and there is no miracle solution. I guess it's part of luck, and part of, well, the luck is 20% and the hard work is 80%.
Thank you, Frederick. And Pascal?
Well, I think, it's also important, if we look also within the Grain as well, when we are looking for solutions to develop for our customers, it's also important to look at what are their needs, and why are they doing it, and that's important to catch that message quite well. Because also, if you look at the Grain, we are also developing our own solutions. We can develop solutions which nobody will use if we don't ask our customers, are you willing to use it, or what is important for you? So it's quite important to take that message also from the end user, instead of just developing for having it and that nobody will use it. So.
Thank you. So, Bobby, I'm going to move on to the next question. And on this one, it's really open for anyone to answer first. Basically, where do you, gentlemen, see the future going with these kinds of transformative services? I mean, Pascal, I guess your vision and Bobby's vision may be different from Frederick's because it's very specific to his industry. But I mean, Pascal, perhaps you'd like to start with that first.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning of presenting the Grain, and also one of the challenges, and that's a lot of AI projects fails, is due to the fact that there's a language gap between AI experts and the engineers and operators. And we strongly believe that we can close that gap by introducing, let's say, a human in the loop kind of sensor, and so that that the operator, for instance, can give back to the system, because they have a new way of working, let's say for a quality issue, that you could say, well, there's a high prediction, high probability that there's a quality issue that the operator can give back. Yes, the system is right, or no, the system is not right, or even a context, because the knowledge is with the operator. They are using the equipment on a day-to-day basis. They know it better, so they can provide valuable feedback. Also for planners and schedulers, they are used to work making schedules on a day-to-day basis. They know all the constraints. We can capture that knowledge and make those models even better, and also make it future-proof. And that's really important. And that's why we strongly believe in the human in the loop. And yeah, that's why we focus also on that in the near future.
Thank you. And Bobby, and we'll come to Frederick at the end to finish on it. But Bobby, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love the specific response from Pascal. I wanted to take more of a macro kind of approach to this response, and just overall seeing a maturation in the market over the last few years. There's been an evolution of what is a digital transformation, and the questions that came up in 2015 and 2016 were around, how is it going to impact me? Where are we going to play? How are we going to win? Then probably towards 2017 and into 2018, we started seeing more of the proof of values and eventual pilots being deployed. And then kind of in the latter part of 2018 through now, we're seeing larger full-scale implementations. And as these full-scale implementations are maturing, what we're seeing is a desire for more and more outcome-driven services. So, for example, companies selling uptime of their assets, managing alerts, providing insights as a service. Not to say that these things haven't been done in the past, but there is a larger prevalence and desire to move towards that servitization piece.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And Frederick?
Well, yes, absolutely. I think it's not okay. I think as a company in our industry, specifically, we are a prime mover as an OEM doing that. There are a couple of, as I said, also it's important to understand why we did it. Also, there is a lot of data available, but nothing is done with it. And this is typically, on the whole energy value chain, a lot is done already with advanced analytics, especially what is distribution of electricity, the billing on the front end of the energy value chain. In power generation, it's a little bit lagging behind, like it is traditionally, I think, in manufacturing. So it will happen, it will occur. People just have to see the advantages. Again, what we are doing as an OEM is we are making advanced analytics available to the power generation without them to go into certain complicated details, and we are adding to that or specific expertise and knowledge of the steam cycle. So I think people do see that value. It will take time, but it's not a matter if it's going to happen, it's more what is the time frame. And obviously people will see the benefits, OEMs will move to that, will change the way they offer their or sell their equipment. It's just like electricity or light, right? People in the past, who was selling light? Well, today light is being sold. It means it's not only electricity. So all those things, they are evolving. There are new concepts. And I think we might be surprised if we talk to each other again in a couple of years, what all has been changed over time.
We'll all be holograms by then instead of on a web page, right?
Well, that I hope not.
I have a question for Bobby here. Pascal, did you want me to? No? Okay, I have a question.
I think one thing is also please. That I wanted to mention is that we also see that, and we are moving more from, as industries are more converging, that we are moving from mass production to mass customization, and also with AI that can really support that move. And it's already happening. Certainly in the consumer market, you can see it already.
You see that as a major enabler to help in the future of these sort of capabilities. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Pascal. So I have a final sort of question for everyone, but I'm going to start with Bobby because if we start with Bobby, he can tell us the SaaS view, and then Frederick and Pascal can tell us how they feel about that SaaS view. Okay, so how are SaaS helping their partners and clients take the risks they need to be able to embrace the transformation journeys they're on? So Bobby, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, no, that's great. I feel like during the discussion we've been focusing a lot on the process piece and technology piece. So I want to take a little bit more of a people approach to this last question, and that's because ultimately the success of our customers is paramount. We recognize that people we work with are visionaries like Frederick, and they're taking a risk and being the tip of the spear and driving the innovation of their organization. So we take a long-term approach, a relationship approach, to make our partners and co-creation partners, and that's, those are our clients and customers, successful. And whether it's through flexibility in contracting, marketing, or just having resources that we can add in an agile manner and bringing the right integration partners to ensure that we're working the problems that our clients are facing and ensuring that they're successful. I think that's a key part for us, is that, being a privately held company, we're able to make a little bit more of a long-term vision into this, because we don't have those quarterly reviews with analysts where we have to show immediate revenue, immediate profits, where we can invest into some of our partnership and invest in the success of our, of the individuals with whom we work with, and ensure that they are, growing within the organizations, and then they're successful in driving the innovation at their organizations.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Pascal, would you like to go next?
Right.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, I think people is indeed important. As you mentioned there, we all talked about process technology, but involving people, change management is rather important. That's why also I mentioned it before, that we need to involve the people as soon as possible. Also cross-functional, don't think about in silos anymore. And I think it's also to share best practices between the different projects, the mini projects that are running. So it's quite important to be transparent and communicate open on that. And even as Frederick said, if you fail, it's not a blame, but fail fast, fail cheap, and just move on to the next one. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. And Frederick, the final word from you on the questions. Oh, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, that's because no, I think indeed what is important is the depth of the organization, the ability to adapt to changing circumstances are extremely important, and that's valid for all the partners involved in this journey. And I think also being able, and because we talked about manufacturing and the very specific market in which we are, but obviously, and that's been true, especially at the beginning also, is look across the fence, what's happening in other industries, other examples of implementation advanced analytics, and that's also something that you can learn of. At the end of the day, the fundamentals of change or changing, driving a change in your organization, leveraging new technologies is not something specific to energy or manufacturing, obviously. So look on the other sides of the fence.
Right. No, thank you very much. So I can see some questions popping up on the screen here, so we'll get to those in just a moment. But I thought what I'd do is just summarize a little bit what I take away from what you gentlemen have been talking about today. And so what I feel I've learned, I've made lots of notes, but the core thing that I think I learned from today was that digital transformation is a very real thing. It's not just a couple of buzzwords, although it can often be used that way, which does have very tangible, measurable benefits done correctly, especially if you're applying advanced techniques like artificial intelligence and analytics to help you achieve those goals. But the journey to success is perhaps slightly fraught with many risks that mean the ecosystem partners that are taking part on the effort need to be in it and committed to the long haul to make sure they can all reap the rewards together. And for that reason, I think it's a fascinating journey you've been on. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. I hope the audience also enjoyed that session. And what we'll do now is hand over to the questions, and I'll start looking through those and we'll go through them. So I don't know if you can hear me, gents, just checking. Okay, good. All right. I can see you're all muted at the moment, so don't forget to unmute. Okay. So we have, I have a few questions, and we have about, I think, 15 minutes, 12 minutes to cover those. Let's start with one, which I think is actually probably the most pertinent based on the conversation we've been having so far, which is something we touched on earlier, but it's probably good to just go back and review. So how do we, in each company in this scenario, how do we choose our partners? This is from a gentleman called Adarsh, who's been posted this in the question section. How do we choose our partners, and do we look for any particular criteria? Now, I know, Frederick, that could be quite a long answer for you based on what we discussed earlier, but please go ahead first and then we'll go around the room.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine. I think we touched upon, but I'll summarize what's been said. Did you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I didn't get the question. Sorry, Pete. Yes, no, absolutely. So thank you for that question. So I think there are a couple of important points. Is that indeed I would say know your own organization. And I think it's important when you start this journey is that you again are aware of what are your capabilities in terms of your capacity to leverage new technologies. I would say probably focus on your core know-how, focus on the change management, the corporate buy-in has already been said before. And then when you look at the partners, I think if I have to focus on two major points, I would definitely think about scalability of the solution you are looking for. And the second one is, I would say, the understanding of the industry in which you are. I think that's also important, whether it's B2B, B2C, or manufacturing, pharmaceutical industry, or whatsoever. I think to have some common understanding of what you are doing, I think definitely makes sense.
So, Frederick, a very quick add-on to that, and then we'll pass it on to Pascal and Bobby as well. But Adarsh also asked, what is there a particular markets that we're looking at? So, for example, India, are there particular places that you are targeting first for the services and for the capabilities we've worked on together?
Well, we are definitely, but that's due to the strength of our network and where our equipment is installed. Yeah. Now, we are definitely focusing today on EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, Northern Africa, I would say. And then the United States are the prime targets. Why? Because you need to understand that we are looking at models which are going towards servitization, and those markets probably today are the most mature. Now, this might change, and again, I mean, we are obviously in other markets like Asia, and for example, India also. Also because we are part of an Indian group or company, so we are definitely working with some Indian customers also on our solution.
Great, thank you. And Pascal, the same for you.
Yeah, well, first on the question how to choose your partners. Well, we have our partners like SAS. Well, we need to have a good collaboration, and we proved it already in the past. Also, the technology platform that you have, and that it's also performant. We know which tools that we can use for which solution, and we know that the tools for SAS, and certainly now that open source is growing fast, we need to know which tools are much more performant than the open source, and we have a good view on that. Because we also get questions on, yeah, but we have also open source. Also important is that those partners also evolve, and technology evolves. Also, their platform needs to evolve. Also, SAS is doing that. They have VIA, which is open source, which allows also to add on new tools, which is important instead of sticking to the old platform. Scalability, as Frederick mentioned. On the other hand, we have also our partners, our customers. It's also important. A little bit the vision, their maturity on how they want to digitize. Do they already have data available? That's also important, because we want to help our customers, but if you don't have any data available, it's hard to help them. But okay, you need to start somewhere. It doesn't mean that we cannot help them, but we are not you need to have data to build models. So, and if you look at the regions where we are focusing on now, with COVID, you can work from everywhere. You can work from home. We proved it already in the past last year. Also, we have projects running in the Nordics. We run it here from Belgium. Our main focus is Europe at the moment, but doesn't mean that we want to, as we are the grain, we want to grow, that we can also help our customers or new customers in other regions as well.
Thanks, Pascal. And Bobby, in terms of SaaS's approach to these things?
Yeah. We're simply looking for synergies. As an analytics company, we often live in the digital world. So a lot of times we look to partners that can help us bridge the physical to digital divide, and then also leverage the insights found to drive change back into the physical world. So partners that can help us achieve that is that's the main criteria. And then we typically, it falls down into two different paths. One is around the co-creation partners, and there we're looking primarily towards the willingness to co-invest time and resources to engineer and create the new offerings, leveraging the existing tools or solutions that SaaS has, and then layering in the value-added services to bring into market. So there, it's very much about this desire to co-create. For the more mature solutions, kind of the co-sell partnership models, more around helping accelerate and looking for organizations and partners that can have a deep industry specific expertise, and just that having that understanding of the client needs to be able to go ahead and ensure that as we're bringing these various solutions to market, we're hitting on the right aspects.
Okay, thanks, Bobby. And actually, as an extension to that, I got asked a question on Twitter as well, which is really along the lines of what you've just answered. But could you add to that little piece what SaaS is doing to meet? Is this part, what you just described, for example, is it part of what SaaS is doing to look at the demands of the changing marketplace today, the landscape today? Is that part of it? And is there more that we're doing?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say the days of technology companies like SaaS going to market with just the individual technology tools, that's evolving. In particular, when we are speaking about the various initiatives in IoT space for enabling digital transformations for organizations, because there's so many moving parts that are needed to enable any sort of meaningful change. What we're seeing is this evolution from going to market with those individual tools, to SaaS as an organization, and our ecosystem of partners taking the various tools and productions and products that we have and combining the individual pieces into end-to-end solutions. So that's including the hardware like sensors, gateways, the various software components, whether it's analytics, which is what SaaS is focused on, to device management platforms, cloud integration, etc. And where we're seeing continued success and are continuing to drive forward further is taking these end-to-end solutions and layering in additional delivery and support services, go-to-market and marketing collateral to turn these solutions into offerings. And the benefit that we're seeing, kind of our clients have, recognize this. These offerings, they're helping accelerate time to value. They're helping manage the ongoing support at scale, and in general, just helps our clients get the buy-in at the executive levels to move forward with various digital transformation efforts. So yeah, I think it's the evolution from selling individual technology tools to combining them with our partners to create solutions, and then layering in those services, delivery capabilities, sales collateral, marketing collateral to further evolve the solutions into offerings.
Thanks, Bobby, and thanks, gentlemen, for all your answers today and all your insights. I do have one last question, but I'm going to leave. I've left this to the end because it's a fascinating question. It could be quite a divisive and polarizing question, and I've tweaked it somewhat slightly. So I'm just going to introduce it as Kevin's question. We have, I think, just enough time to have a look at it briefly. So I've tweaked it slightly, Kevin. My apologies in advance. So if we accept that AI tends to follow biology, and biology has itself demonstrated increasing complexity, leading to diminishing returns and potentially extinction for some varieties, if you like, of life. What are your thoughts on this being the cause for the 16% success that we referred to earlier, instead of perhaps blaming people endeavoring to deliver transformation projects? Now, there could be a whole hour of debate on this one question. Okay, so let's just do a quick round robin. And my answer, by the way, would be I'd go and remind myself to read my favorite book from about 2018 called Life 3.0. which I found fascinating and helps deal with a lot of those kinds of questions and helps you think about them differently. But let's pop around the room. Frederick first, have you got any thoughts on that answer, on an answer for that?
Yeah, I think it's indeed a very interesting question. No, I think it's a question about managing expectations also. I think that's very important. In the way I look at it is I think it's important in other words, how we do leverage the technology. I think that's also very important. And I said it earlier also. I said, like, don't expect technology doing everything for you. Again, a big part here is not about the advanced analytics, the scalability, or whatsoever. It's change management inside your own organization. And I think that's primordial.
Thanks, Frederick. And Pascal?
Well, I think, yeah, I'm in the same line with Frederick. Just use the technology supporting, and the technology supporting us to do things better. So just use it like that, and it will take over some repetitive tasks and all that, but it allows us to focus on the added value tasks as a human being. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. And finally, Bobby, just a last thought.
I like the biology analogy for AI because I think it's accurate, especially since organizations often behave similarly to organisms. So what is inherently accretive or destructive is the metabolic rate of decision making. Either AI helps us make better decisions faster, or it doesn't. If it does, great, that's beneficial. But if it doesn't, we have to recognize that we're not creating the value we're seeking, and an adjustment in the investment of organization resources needs to be made. So I think changing the mindset from doing proof of concepts, which are technology focused, and shifting that more towards proofs of value to demonstrate the business outcome is often critical to ensure that if there is complexity that's being created, it's being created for the right reason, and that's around making better decisions faster.
Thank you very much, Bobby, and thank you all very much for your insights today. I've had a fascinating hour, so thank you for your time. Don't forget our information's in the chat window, so if anybody does want to follow up with anything with us, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, have a great rest of your afternoon, gentlemen, and everyone for watching, and see you all again, perhaps on another occasion.